Hi everyone, I'm Katie, an equine holistic nutrition practitioner and a certified equine functional osteopath. I talk all things crunchy and holistic horse care. If your horse feels off, gains weight easily, has weird fat pads or cellulite looking tissue, random laminitic episodes, or tender-footed times, this video is for you. Today we're focusing specifically on insulin resistance and equine metabolic syndrome, EMS. And I just want to make this super clear. There are other things that fall under the metabolic umbrella, such as PPID and PSSM. They are metabolic disorders, but they are not insulin resistance or EMS. EMS is its own condition driven by insulin dysregulation, not pituitary dysfunction, PPID, or muscle glycogen storage issues, PSSM. This video is all about insulin resistance. Think of insulin resistance as equine prediabetes. The horse's cells stop responding to insulin, so the body pumps out more and more to manage the blood sugar. Over time, that imbalance affects fat storage, hoof health, and overall metabolic stability. Any horse can develop EMS, but there are certain breeds that are more predisposed. That being said, I've seen it all across the board. Most people only look for the typical signs, which is a crusty neck or laminitis, but insulin resistance shows up in all sorts of other places, and it really just depends on the horse. So some signs that you can look for that anybody can point out, and things that I really want to bring some early awareness to detection are things like fat pads above the eyes. You know, they often have a little divot in there, so you'll see some swelling in there, and that does indicate that there's fat even behind the eyes. And behind the shoulders are the scapulas. That's a big part of the top of their shoulder there. You'll see fat pads in behind there, just in front of your saddle. You'll also see fat pads around the tail head, right at above their tail, kind of where their sacrum is. And you can see them in all sorts of other places too. I've seen fat pads on their glutes and their hamstrings, along their barrel for sure. It just depends the severity. You also want to look for things like swelling around the sheath or the udders. This is something that's commonly overlooked, or we think it's bug bites or irritation or a dirty sheath. I hear this all the time, but it really is one of the earliest indicators of insulin resistance in horses. So swelling of the sheath or up into the groin on the geldings, and then swelling around the udders in the mares. The other thing is kind of mystery lameness or tender-footedness. If your horse is getting sore after an appropriate trim or any changes to their feet, or they're having little flares of laminitis, that's a huge indicator that they're having some insulin dysregulation going on in their body. And these are things we want to try and deal with before they become bigger problems. Another one is patchy or abnormal sweat patterns. This is common with insulin dysregulation. And also some changes in their demeanor. So if they feel dull, flat, or just not themselves. I see this commonly in horses. People think they're lazy, or they don't want to move, or they're resistant to going forwards. That's a very common thing in insulin-resistant horses because they're feeling congested, they're uncomfortable, they're inflamed in their tissues, and they generally just don't feel good. So these are all red flags of insulin dysregulation or insulin resistance going on in your horses. They often get brushed off or normalized. So I often hear things like, oh, she's just chunky. He's always been an easy keeper. It's just age. I like it when they have a little bit of weight on them. Food is love. So we normalize these things early on. And I'm honestly starting to see this come up in quite young horses, like 4, 5, 6 years old. I'm starting to see insulin resistance in horses. And there's just so many contributing factors. So early insulin resistance responds really well when we address the primary root cause of what's going on. So if we're able to feed them an appropriate diet, if we're able to balance their minerals correctly, which means getting them off the multis and all the toxins that come along with that, we support their gut health and metabolic function. Another key thing is really managing toxicity. So insulin resistance is triggered and also causes a ton of inflammation in the body, and toxicity contributes to that. So things like vaccinations, over medication, sedation, those types of things also are contributing factors to insulin resistance. And then they often lead down the road to things like laminitis, founder, those types of things. And if we can catch these symptoms sooner and minimize the inputs earlier, there's so much that we can do to help these horses manage them, but also help them heal so they don't have these problems in the future. So for insulin resistance and EMS, nutrition is the primary treatment. That is what we should be looking at first and foremost. Then our toxic load, what are we putting in that's contributing to toxicity and inflammation in the body that is affecting insulin resistance? And really no medication can replace a low sugar, low starch, well-balanced diet and minimizing toxicity. It's not a long-term solution, and unfortunately I see it often as one of the first recommendations when we're dealing with insulin resistance now. And most of these horses are mismanaged nutritionally. So this is some good information for you, some tips to look for, and I'm here to support you. So if you're seeing any of these signs in your horse and you want personalized support, you can apply for a nutritional consultation with me. I help horse owners manage this all the time and see a lot of success. You can also grab my free equine vaccine and detox guide to start clearing your horse's system naturally and on your own. And then you can also follow and subscribe. I've got a lot of information on this stuff on my website and on my Facebook. So that's at KC Equine Wellness on social media and kcequinewellness.ca for lots of blog posts. I'd love to hear from you. Also, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel for more information like this. Happy horsing.